Hi again, everybody. This is the second of our two introductory videos for WRA 210. And in this one, we're going to talk a little bit about the first class activity that we would have done had we met in person. And as I promised, we're going to learn a little bit about how the web works, about how to get files to and from a web server. And we're going to do that by creating a first very simple version of a project page for the course. You'll recall that a project page is the place where you will store your information for the course. It's how you'll turn all the projects in. So once again, we'll be using that same file of slides that you saw on the course homepage. If you watched the introductory video, you know how to get it. It's just a little bit further down in the queue. And we're going to be working again with this URL. And we'll actually now dig a little deeper into that idea of changing your net ID in order to figure out how to get to the space that the university provides for you to do some web hosting. When you turn your projects into the class, essentially what you'll be doing is making a new link, uploading the file or files that represent what you've done to your web space, and then adding that link to your project page. So the project page is just a very simple website that is just for this course. Once you're done with this course, you can keep it, you can put it in, make it part of your portfolio. You could do whatever you want with it, but for the duration of the course, it's where you'll actually store all of the information. The URL that you see here is actually a version of what you are going to be creating, and so there are really two bits to notice here. One is, it doesn't come across terribly well here, but the bit in green is my net ID. You're going to be swapping that out for yours. And then this file name. I'll come back to that in just a minute. But it's very important that it be called index.html. What I'm going to have you do is download a sample file from our website. It's a sample, very simple project page. It will have a different file name. So the first thing you'll have to do is rename it so that it's called index.html. You're then going to upload it into your AFS space, the space that the university provides to you as part of your student account. And then when you go back to the web, after you've done that, you'll go back to the web. If you see, if you put this URL swapping your net ID out into a web browser, you'll be able to see your page live on the open web. All right. So let's talk a little bit about FTP, and then I'll show you how to do it. It's pretty simple. I mentioned this web space. AFS is what we call that web space, and again, MSU provides this to you free of charge, just like you would pay for if you were paying a commercial web hosting service. It's accessible here. You already have it set up, but if you don't have anything there, you'll just get that Sparty error message if you try to use this URL now if you don't have any files living there. Oops, sorry. To put stuff here, you have to use a protocol called FTP. FTP stands for File Transfer Protocol, and it's one of the very first and most simple kinds of ways to move information around on the internet. It actually predates the World Wide Web by quite a bit. But we still use FTP in order to transfer a file from your computer that you're working on to a web server so that when people make a request with the web browser, they can get that file. In order to do that, you'll have to access the FTP server at MSU, ftp.msu.edu. And when you do that, it's going to ask for a login and password. This is your MSU Net ID login and password, the same one that you use to get email, same one that you use to log in on the campus machines in the computer labs. You're going to have a directory. It's not actually called public HTML anymore, so actually I'm going to make a change to that right now in front of your very eyes. It's actually called web, which is way easier to remember. All right. So we'll come back to that in just a second when you see that web directory on your screen. But this is where you're going to store all the files. That's easy to remember. Anything you want people to see on the web, you store in the web folder in your AFS space. If you're in a network lab, we also have some other options. You can map the drive and see that space come up as a little folder. We'll actually work on those later in the week and maybe early next week. But for now, we're going to use a very simple web-based FTP software that the university provides. So let me show you the steps. Alright, so I'll walk through the steps and then we can come back. You can pause this if you want and write them down, or you can just grab the file. Remember, you can grab this PowerPoint. I'm going to talk through them and then I'll show them to you. So the first thing we're going to do is download the sample page file from the course homepage. And we're going to put that on our local desktop. Okay. Then I'm going to rename that file index.html. That's an important step. Then I'm going to FTP the file called index.html into your AFS space. That's going to be the most complicated step for many of you. And then we'll reload the course page and click on the link with your name. If you did it right, your link will work now, and I'll show you what that looks like. It'll be like magic. Okay. So let's start here. This is the course homepage, you remember? Great. So let me show you something cool. The sample project page is the third link down. Yeah, third link down. And when I click on it, you're going to see this rather very simple, unimpressive, but functional page. Okay, so this is what you're going to eventually modify. You don't have to do anything to this page just yet. We're just going to save it on your local machine and then re-upload it into your file space for right now. Okay, so it will look exactly like this when you're done, and then we'll slowly start building it, editing it, and making it look better. Okay, now I went back to the website. So when I click on that link, it loads it in the browser, but if I hit the control key on a Mac or I right click on it on a PC, then I get the little contextual menu. That's really what I want to do here, and I want to save link as. That's going to download the file, and you'll see that right away the file is called something different than we need to call it. Remember, it needs to be called index.html. It's called project_sample.html, and there's a reason for that. I'll let you try to figure out what that reason is. I'm going to edit that right now and call it index.html and save it on my desktop. Okay? Great. So now if I go to my desktop, I've actually got this file right here. Okay? Good, good. Now, going back to my little steps, I have 2 steps done. Great. For the third step, we want to go to the web browser again, and we want to go to a website with the URL afs.msu.edu. If at any time I get confusing for you, know that there's a little link down here, how to access your AFS space, that covers everything we're about to do. So if you want to pause now and read that, you can. Otherwise, you can follow along. At afs.msu.edu, you're going to have first a place to log in. Use your MSUNet ID and password to log in. You can see that once you do, I'm right here, I'm logged in as myself. And what I can now do are several things. I can it says manage personal web permissions, etc., etc. We're not going to do any of these links right yet. We're going to go over here to this link called NetFiles. NetFiles is a very simple FTP program that is available on the web. If I go to NetFiles, I see a representation of all the things that are stored in my AFS space. Many of these are things that are there by default, and so you won't be changing them at all, but you'll be looking for that place that I talked about before. So you can tell that we have a web directory, a web folder. Remember, I mentioned that that's the place where all your web information is going to be stored. So let's click on that, and you'll see lots of places, or in my case, lots of files. In your case, this will likely be empty, and that's just fine. What you're now going to do is go over to the Actions menu and hit Upload File and browse to find that index.html and then hit Open. I'm not actually going to do that because it would replace my existing homepage, which I don't want to do, but then you will do that and you will have successfully created a project page. You'll see a file pop up here that says index.html, and in fact I actually do have one. Let's see if I can find it right there. It will look just like that. What that will mean is that when you go to your personal website, you'll be able to see it. Now I have added my own here and renamed it. Believe it or not, this is the same file that you saw. Exact same file. You can see the text. I changed a little bit of things and I added a bunch of style information to make it look kind of wacky, but it's the same basic HTML. So you'll be able to do that and more by the time we're finished. Once you're done, let's imagine now that you've gotten this far, you can you may have to hit refresh to see any changes that you did, but once you're done, you can go back to the course website and you should see a link over here with your name on it. Now I have preset that link, and you can see down here in the corner when I mouse over, if I go to Ian's page, for example, it gives me the Sparty error. But if he had a file in his AFS space called index.html, it would load it there, and I would see his project page. So that's the signal to know when you're finished. So if you did that correctly, congratulations. That is the end. Now normally I would turn you loose in class and you all would be working away, and so now you can do that on your own time. But one of the things I'm going to do is give you a bit of information now about what we'll be doing for Thursday. So if you get all the way through with this exercise, you've learned a little bit about FTP and how the web works just by trying some things out. What I also recommend is, if you get confused, watch the FTP video that's linked. It's a how-to video that's linked on the website. I'll point it out in just a second. You want to order your Stolly textbook and go buy a good HTML or CSS reference right away. Module 1 looks like this. And you can see all the modules will be linked this way, and they just walk you through the steps. Module 1 is mostly reading and background information, and then there's some activities for you to do. So if you get stuck, make a note of any questions you have, bring them to class on Thursday, and I'm happy to answer them. And we'll work on getting that project page spiffed up, and we'll show you how to make a link and post your Module 1 results to your project page on Thursday. And that will be our big activity for the day. So thanks for hanging in. Hope you stayed warm today. Enjoy the rest of the week, and I'll see you Thursday.